What I'm going to work on today is this cold steel Trail Boss axe. I've had this thing about 2 years, just been sitting around. I haven't done anything with it other than make a mask for it. Now, I'm only going to do a few things to it. I am going to take and clean this paint off the pole and file it off smooth and get rid of these sharp corners that are here. Now, it's got a little bit of an edge on it, but it's not great, so it'll need to be sharpened. Now, as far as this head goes, it supposedly weighs 1 pound 13 ounces, made from 1055 steel. And they did a pretty good job hanging it, I guess. There's 2 of the barrel wedges in the top. I don't see any gaps, and down here they did a good job here. It's nice and tight. I don't see any gaps around here, so that's a plus. Now, as far as the handle goes, I'm going to scrape this lacquer off. It's got a real heavy lacquer coating on it. I'm going to scrape all of this off, lightly sand it, and put some linseed oil on it. What I'm doing now is just scraping off the lacquer off the half, or the handle if you want. I'm just using an old knife. It is sharp, and I'm just scraping it off. And I've already scraped most of it off, but just take it right off. You don't need anything fancy to do this with. Card scraper will work okay too. But yeah, when you think you got it done, just kind of roll it around under a bright light. If you see any shiny spots, and you can go back and scrape those off. Now, there's a few things I didn't say about this handle. It is hickory. The grain orientation isn't great on it, but it's okay, and it's just one of those flat board type handles. I mean, it does have a little bit of shape to it. Now, it's kind of thick, so you could work it down some if you like to have it a little bit thinner. You know, there's plenty of wood to work with there, so you could do that. But once I get all this off here, I'm going to lightly sand it, and then I'll put some linseed oil on it. But all you got to do is just use the knife down for the scraper. It'll take it right off. Alright, now what I'm doing now, I'm just going to lightly sand it down with some 180 grit paper. I'm using that's because that's what I had laying around. You don't need to make it super smooth, and I wouldn't go over 220 actually. That should be more than enough. Okay, now I cleaned the paint off the pole here. It had some sharp edges and sharp corners on it, and I just scraped the paint off, and I used a file and some sandpaper just to clean it up and round over the sharp corners on it. And now I'm going to put some linseed oil on it, and I'll probably put, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 coats, whatever it takes, and that'll pretty much do it. Now, this thing is fairly sharp when I got it. I mean, not great, but fairly sharp. And I haven't sharpened it any. It's not going to take a whole lot to sharpen it. I'm not going to show that. But there's just a few things you can do to these things to clean them up, make them a little nicer. Now, one thing I wasn't able to do, on the handle up here it says genuine hickory, and it was actually stamped into the wood pretty deep, and I wasn't able to sand that out, or I could have, but I would have ended up having a spot on the handle there that I didn't want to have. But now, as far as this thing, I don't know, you know, a lot of people have bought these and made videos about them, and they seem like a good deal, and we'll see. I'm just going to wait in the spring when it gets warm to start doing yard work and stuff like that. I'll clean it, you know, I'll give it a go, do some work with it, and we'll just see how it holds an edge. I'm sure it's going to be fine. I've not seen too many negative reviews about these axes, so I would think it's going to be just fine.